Okay, well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to be with us today. My name is Tony Hua, the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services here in Petaluma, and I'd let my colleagues introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Esmeralda Sanchez Mosley. I'm the Director of Educational Services here for Petaluma City Schools. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Samuel Martinez. I'm principal at McDowell Elementary School.
Thank you, Esmeralda and Samuel. Our goal this evening is to share with you some information about dual language and the dual language program that we'll be offering here at Petaluma City Schools. You can also find on our website more information and under the frequently asked questions section. However, we'll also be taking some questions at the end of this presentation as well. So without further ado, what is dual immersion? Dual language immersion program develops bilingualism and biliteracy in English as a second language by integrating English learners with native English speakers, proficient English speakers. So the goal of dual language immersion is for students to obtain a grade level academic achievement. Second goal is for students to be proficient and fluent in 2 languages across the 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, writing, in Spanish and English. And our third goal is for students to develop social cultural competencies, positive self-identity, identities, cross-cultural competence, and agents for social change. Biliteracy, bilingualism doesn't happen overnight. It typically takes 5 to 7 years to master another language. So most dual language immersion programs usually are that long, around 5 to 7 years. And the research is pretty clear. It's important to note that students who do go through the entire dual language program score at or above average on state and national norms. They tend to be more engaged with their learning, developing higher levels of English proficiency. For English learners, students acquire English language faster and with higher achievement in academic measures compared to their peers who may not be in the dual language program. But why dual immersion? In a bigger context, we always ask ourselves as an educational institution, what are we preparing our students for? And for students to compete and thrive in an ever-changing, interconnected world, is important for them to be able to communicate in more than one language. There's over 220 languages spoken in California, and 44% of those speak languages other than English. Though Spanish is the second most spoken language in California and the third most spoken language in the world. It is also considered a language of success, as English is the #1, Mandarin #2, and Spanish being #3. As well as we've done surveys with our community to determine, what programs that the community would like for us to offer at Petaluma City Schools, and the dual language immersion Spanish was one of those that was on top of our list. So Spanish language immersion at Petaluma City Schools. We will open 1 Spanish dual language immersion class at McDowell Elementary for the 2022-2023, starting with kindergarten. Students in the McDowell attendance area will have priority for enrollment. And our target class size is between 24 to 26 students, with 50% of the class English proficient and the other 50% native Spanish speakers.
Thank you, Tony. So now that we're starting this program, you may, if you're familiar with dual language immersion programs throughout the state, what's very familiar and widely known are 2 different kinds of models, and what we call a 90-10 model and a 50-50 model. And the model that we will be implementing in PCS at McDowell will be what we call the 90-10 model. So if you look at this graph, what you will see here is that the green pencil represents the percentage of the instructional day that will be spent in the target language, which is Spanish. And you'll see how the blue pencil represents English and the percentage of time of the instructional day that students will be instructed in English. And what's notable here is that we gradually decrease the percentage of time in Spanish, and we come to the 50-50 halfway point in the upper grades. We usually achieve that between 4th and 6th grade. And the idea here is that we really want to immerse our students in the target language because English is all around them, right? It's in our community. It's the language of all of our schools. It's in the media, right? In the United States, it's the official language. Therefore, in a dual language setting, it's really important to immerse the students to be able to teach them their reading, their literacy skills first in that target language, and then gradually add on the English. What we know is that language transfers. And so if we are teaching the sounds of the letters and we're teaching the sound in Spanish, that's positive transfer to English. And so we aren't having to reteach particular elements of reading and of letters because there's so much commonality in the phonetic systems between Spanish and English. And so we are really immersing our students, making sure that they have the foundations in their literacy in Spanish to be able then to add on English and make that positive transfer between languages. And then ultimately get to the 50-50 mark where they're working in both languages. Now, know that in these programs, we are not teaching Spanish as a language in and of itself. We are teaching content. We are teaching mathematics. We are teaching language arts, history, and Spanish is the vehicle, right, of the language. But it is the content that we're teaching. So all of our students will learn all of the standards, what's required of them in every grade level. They're just doing it in 2 languages. So why the 90-10 model? What we know from research, this is research based from Catherine Lindholm Leary, who's a notable dual language researcher, is that the 90-10 programs build the higher levels of Spanish proficiency. So what we see that is in Spanish by the end of elementary school and into middle school, there's clearly an advantage for 90-10 programs with greater Spanish oral language and literacy attainment by both groups, by both our native English speakers and our previous English learner students. So what's really important here to note is that our English learners who are adding English as their second language, when they're instructed to read in their primary language first, they actually have more success in terms of being able to become English proficient and higher academic success in the later grades. Now, parents are a vital part of this program, this idea of homeschool collaboration in any school, in any program. And one thing that you really want to be mindful is that just because you may not speak both languages, perhaps your native language is English and you don't know Spanish, or the other way around, you're a native Spanish speaker, you predominantly speak Spanish in your home and you're learning English. Parents are a vital part of the program. And how do you support your child at home? You build the skills in your primary language. So if your child is learning Spanish as their second language at home, you're reading to them in English. You're having those rich academic conversations in the language that you speak at home and vice versa. And so that there is not a requirement. You do not need to be bilingual to be able to have your child enroll in this program, nor do you need to be bilingual for your child to be able to succeed. What we do ask of you and what is vitally important in these programs is the commitment over time. It isn't a type of program where you try it out for a year or two and then you step out and you maybe enroll your child in an English only program. The idea is that we really want to leverage this over time. And so what we know, as we shared in just a couple of earlier slides around the research, if we know that it takes 5 to 7 years to be able to build that academic language across reading, the 4 domains of reading, writing, listening, and speaking, then we really need that investment of time over those years. So our program is starting in kindergarten and it will build every year all the way to 6th grade. Ultimately, we'll be building out a secondary pathway into our junior highs and high school. That's future work. But the idea is that we really want our parents to partner with us to have that commitment over time, and we will support you through that process. So what is the enrollment process? So right now we have in PCS what we call the priority registration window open. That opened on January 7th and it closes on February 25th. And so you will utilize that same process for this program, for enrolling in this particular program. If you do not reside in the McDowell attendance area, you are required to fill out a transfer form. And in the enrollment form, there is a question. If you indicate McDowell is one of your school choices, there is a section under special programs where you can indicate if you'd like the McDowell traditional program that's English only, or if you would like the Spanish dual language immersion program. And that is how we will know what your interest is and what your intention is. Now, if there's more students than space available in the class, then we'll conduct a lottery and create a waiting list. Now, what happens after you've been accepted? In the springtime, we will have some parent orientation sessions. Really important to, it's another touch point to be able to explain the program. What does the schedule actually look like? How can you get involved? Getting to know the richness of McDowell School, meeting staff, really having that introductory session and building that parent school collaboration on the McDowell campus. We ask also that you submit all of your paperwork for enrollment. So your standard paperwork around birth certificates and proof of vaccination and all of that paperwork in the enrollment process. What we'd like to do right now is share with you a little video that we hope will help illustrate some perspectives, some student perspectives, parent perspectives. This particular video is from Anaheim City Elementary School District that has had a long-standing dual language immersion program, not only in Spanish and English, but also in Korean and English. So some of the things that they'll talk about are specific to Anaheim, but overall, it'll give you a sense of some staff, some teacher, student, and parent perspectives. So just one moment.
Quality writing.
Thank you for your patience.
Mi parte favorito es que yo pueda aprender más. Yo aprendo matemáticas en inglés y yo aprendo otras cosas como proyectos en español.
En el programa de doble inmersión se siente muy emocionante porque sabes que puedes comunicar con gente que habla solo español y también les puedes ayudar con el inglés, o gente que solo habla con inglés y les puedes ayudar con el español.
Anaheim Elementary School District is the first in the nation to offer dual language immersion academies at all 23 school sites. Families have the option to choose between Spanish and English at any of our schools or Korean and English at Jefferson Elementary School.
In a dual language classroom, students are learning to read, write, count in 2 languages.
Students get to learn how to communicate, how to read and speak and write in Korean fluently. And later on, they get to be fluent in both languages.
안녕하세요. 내 이름은 제니바입니다. 한국말 좋아요.
It's just amazing to see, especially my kids that don't speak Spanish at home. And then I see them just full-on conversations. They read it, they write it.
Yo siento que el programa de doble inmersión me va a ayudar en el futuro porque me puede dar más oportunidades en trabajos o con otras cosas porque sos más fluente en español y en inglés.
The bilingual brain, and what happens to the brain? It maximizes its potential. If you think of a brain as like a muscle, the more you exercise that muscle, the stronger it becomes, the larger in the sense of capacity it becomes. So it has benefits that reach beyond just the cognizant or being able to communicate. They're actually able to maneuver and expand in their learning.
Ser bilingüe va a impactar mi futuro porque yo quiero ser un agente de FBI y necesito saber 2 o más lenguajes para ser un agente de FBI.
Our Dual Language Immersion Academy stays true to a 90-10 model. 90-10 model means that 90% of the time students are immersed in Spanish in kindergarten with only 10% in English. As students matriculate through their grade levels, they receive more instruction in English, eventually leading to 4th, 5th, and 6th grade where they receive 50% of instruction in Spanish and 50% of instruction in English. In the Korean DLI Academy, we have adopted an 80-20 model. In the 80-20 model, kindergarten and 1st grade students are immersed 80% of their day in Korean and 20% of their day in English. As they matriculate through the grade levels, we strategically add 10% of English each year, eventually reaching 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, where 50% of the day is in English and 50% of the day is in Korean.
A lot of parents are concerned like, oh, my kid's not gonna learn how to read in English if they didn't learn it in kinder, 1st or 2nd. By this time, 3 months into 3rd grade, my kids are already going above and beyond in the English.
A mí me decían, ¿por qué lo vas a poner en un programa de español si tú se lo puedes enseñar en casa? Sí, se lo puedes enseñar en casa, pero la gramática, las acentuaciones, las puntuaciones, no se los puedes enseñar de la misma manera que se los enseñan en la escuela.
En el Distrito de Escuelas Primarias de Anaheim estamos preparando a los estudiantes para que tengan esa competencia lingüística y puedan competir en un mercado global. Pero más que nada queremos que estudiantes tengan acceso y equidad a todo lo que beneficie en su provenir. Por ejemplo, sabemos que teniendo acceso a otras culturas, a música, arte, estudios sociales, ingeniería, todo eso les va a proveer una oportunidad más enriquecida en su futuro.
Have well-balanced population, students who are native Korean speakers and students who are learning Korean as second language. And both groups can flourish and they can succeed in our program. I think that's really unique about our KDLI program, and I'm really proud of that.
It is amazing to see students, regardless of their heritage, background, or societal status, learning together in celebration of language. Students are able to communicate and see beyond any differences. They're able to flourish and reach high academic success. Give your child the gift that will open doors today and for years to come.
Want to make math fun for your child?
Sorry. Okay. All right. And now I'd like to pass it on to Mr. Martinez, who will talk a little bit about McDowell and ways for you to access the school as we get into tour season.
Yeah, so I'm excited to welcome both new families to McDowell. I think that you're gonna fall in love with our school. Some of the programs we're already giving, some of the work around environmental literacy, culturally responsive teaching, and the commitment to biliteracy as a whole at the school, as well as community-based programs and networks that we have across the board at the school. We've got a phenomenal team of educators as well. So for those of you that are new to McDowell, would love to have you and receive you. And so feel free to stop by for any questions or schedule a tour with us, or call the office if you'd like to hear more about our programs here and this opportunity. And for our continuing families, this is really a strong opportunity for your kids to receive 2 languages, biliteracy in 2 languages, in a model proven by research, one that I myself have worked in for a couple of decades and have also had my kids attend, and one I believe strongly in terms of kids' appreciation of language, of culture, and their ability to be really articulate, and also their positive sense of identity and community. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for this new program, for those of you that are also in our neighborhood, to really take advantage of. And again, with just 26 slots for a program that will eventually grow with starting with just kinder, I think it's a real special opportunity. And so I would really encourage those of you that are interested to get your registration in during the priority window.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Samuel. What we'd like to do now is open up the Q&A for anyone who's attending our webinar tonight who has any specific questions that we can attend to. You can go ahead and enter your questions in the chat, and we will do our best. We've got some time, so we'll do our best to peruse your questions and answer as many as we can. Again, we'll direct you to petalumacityschools.org. There is, under programs, there is a link to the information that we shared tonight. The recorded webinars will go up, but we also have the frequently asked questions, as well as some of the key concepts that we shared today in our presentation. So any questions you might have, feel free to put them in the chat. Okay. Thank you for your question. So the question is about who will be the teacher who will lead this first bilingual K class. So at this time, we are in the process of recruiting and beginning the first stages of identifying a teacher. And so this is hiring season. We start that process here usually in January, in the winter time, especially heading into February and March. And so we are in that recruitment phase now. So as soon as we have more information, if we have the goal is to have our teacher lined up so that in the spring, if we have our orientations, assuming the teacher is not employed somewhere else and going to join us in the fall, that we can have some connection just before school starts or in those orientations.
What I will say is that we're going to assure that we get the highest quality teacher that's really trained and dedicated, especially for dual immersion. We have a partnership in particular with Sonoma State University, and even house student teachers here, but have them on our team. And so we will actively recruit and also have wide range of experience in our district with dual immersion. And so we'll also offer quite a bit of professional development and support to assure that this is really a top program for all students.
Is there any priority when deciding who will be accepted in the dual immersion program? So we will use the same priorities that we use for any school selection and choice in Petaluma City Schools. One of the differences in this particular enrollment process is that we would like a balance of languages, right? And so half of our spots, students who are native Spanish speakers, right? And then native English speakers, because we really want the students to be able to have those language models for one another. And so we start with the area of attendance, and then we go into the same lottery groups that we have for the district. That if you go to the enrollment page on the PCS website, you'll see it's everything from employees to current siblings at the school. There's about five different groups. So I would direct you to the PCS enrollment page, and they'll detail everything there. The one little caveat for us in our program is that we want the balance of speakers. Okay. And we're hoping, so February 25th is when the priority enrollment window closes. And so that is when we will look at our first, the enrollees, how many students are wanting the program, and then determining the lottery from there, if we have more spaces than what we can offer to the interested students. I have a 4.5-year-old who will start pre-K this fall. Would she qualify for this program? I wish we could offer it earlier than kindergarten. At this point, it's just for kindergartners who will turn 5 by September 1st. And so because we're building it out, well, obviously in the 23-24 school year, we'll have another kindergarten class, right? And so your child is still young enough that, by the second kinder class, it is a time that you can enroll them. Okay, when you look at how Loma Vista has run their DLI program, is there anything that you feel is an important distinction in how you'll be implementing DLI? I think that one of the distinctions is that we are implementing a program in an existing school with a rich staff who has already been focused on biliteracy and really building up the assets and the experiences of the families that reside at that school. That's a school that's very well established in the neighborhood. And so what a great way, right, to add on and to have on the campus where there are very, experienced educators, many bilingual educators on the staff. And so so we're not starting a brand new school, we're starting a program within an existing school that's very strong and very rich in terms of the people who are there already. The other distinction I would add is that because we have our secondary district, we've got the junior highs and the high schools, we have teachers in our school district who are excited to build out the K-12 pathway. And so for Petaluma City Schools is a comprehensive school district that has both elementary and secondary, to have the continuity of being able to build out a program that's very unique to Petaluma City Schools. If you have decided on a particular curriculum for math and Spanish language arts. Yes, thank you for your question, Vanessa. We will look at our current adoptions. Currently, Petaluma City Schools uses Wonders, and there is a Spanish correlation to that, which is called Maravillas. It's an adopted language arts curriculum. Any specific supplemental programs that are very unique to the Spanish language or that we would like to add, again, we will be looking at that as well to really supplement and make sure that we have all that we need in terms of teaching the foundational skills in Spanish. Math, we use Everyday Math, which also has a Spanish component. We're very lucky, as well as our science program, TWIG, also has a corresponding Spanish curriculum. So fortunately, living in California with our adoptions and our publishers and many hundreds of dual language immersion programs, particularly in Spanish in the state, our curriculum adoption companies have really jumped on and started to create a lot of materials that go hand in hand. Thank you so much for your questions. These are great questions. We still have more time, so anything else that comes to mind, please don't hesitate to ask. One additional piece that I will add is that part of creating this program and building this program is also making sure that we're involving all of our educational partners, our parents, the current staff at McDowell. And so we will be creating a dual immersion advisory council. So we have partners in the work as we create and build the program grade level by grade level at McDowell, really taking into consideration the community at McDowell and how this program unites with the vision and everything that McDowell already has going on, because these kids will all be McDowell students, right, under that umbrella as McDowell monarchs. And so we want to make sure that that our Dual Immersion Advisory Council stakeholder group is also helping in terms of the planning and building out of this program over time. Great. Thank you so much, Adriana, for being here. Okay. Are families considering dual immersion encouraged to do anything in particular to prepare for this kind of program? Great question, Sal. No particular. If your child is already enrolled in preschool or any other kind of schooling opportunities, anything that is getting them excited to be prepared to be a learner in kindergarten, that's all we need, is just having the richness of conversations and building that curiosity and that excitement. And also really sort of opening up your child to be thinking about, wow, wouldn't it be great to learn another language if you only know one? Like, wow, we could add another, or we know some Spanish, or we know some English. So I think just really building that curiosity and that excitement for learning. I don't know, Samuel, if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think that's perfectly it. It's just the same way you would just support your child in entering school. So all those things, rich literacy experiences, your storytelling, your reading to your kid in whatever language, and just sharing in that excitement, that all transfers and will help facilitate really success for your child. So just that excitement of learning, and in the case of this, the appreciation of multiple languages and multiple cultures will go a long way.
Okay, what dates will parents be notified if our children got accepted for this dual immersion program? So once the February 25th date has closed, we anticipate it'll take a few weeks just to get everything together. We will need to look at the home language surveys to see what are the languages spoken in the home. We might have some follow-up phone calls to obtain some more information, but we would hope by March, sometime in March, that we would have an answer back to families. And follow the same notification procedure as the rest of our partner schools here in PCS. Thank you so much for all of your questions. These are very helpful. And if I'm also going to be reviewing these as well, if there's anything new that we can add to our frequently asked questions. If my child isn't admitted in the K class, could they join in first if there is room? Wonderful question. So we traditionally, to give you all some background, similar to Samuel, my own children are enrolled in dual language immersion programs in Sonoma County, and I was the principal of a dual immersion language school for the past 12 years. So this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. That being said, we want to maximize the opportunities for students to join within the window by which they can acquire and have the time to learn the language. First grade is still a year that students can join even if they didn't join in kindergarten. And so because the percentage of time in Spanish is still very high in first grade, and first grade is a critical year in terms of literacy development, I had many students in my previous school who joined in first grade and experienced success long-term. And so, yes, there could be, if there is room, there would be opportunity to join in first grade. Any other questions that come to mind at this time?
And if
Yes,
Yeah.
Adriana, we're going to repeat the webinar in Spanish at 7 o'clock.
And if there are questions later, you always feel free to reach out to us, can email us, can give us a call. We'll be available to help answer any questions throughout this whole process.
Okay, I think if there's not any questions, we'll stay on for a minute or so, and then we'll close out the webinar. But if there's any other questions, feel free to type them in these next couple of minutes, and then we'll, anyone who'd like to listen in Spanish at 7 p.m., we invite you to come back, spread the word to your networks of any Spanish speakers in the community who'd like to come learn about the program. We will be on at 7 p.m.
Again, thank you for everyone for taking the time to join us on this webinar. Thank you, Esmeralda and Samuel, for giving us great information about our dual immersion program.
Wonderful. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.